Hello, and welcome to Life Rhythms, Tarot, Food, and Spirit. I'm coming to you on this very chilly January afternoon with an offering of a sacred nourishment spread. I've been working with and working on this spread for a couple of months now. It was inspired by a couple of things. One was, I believe, earlier in the fall. A few of you were coming forward with a very elaborate spread about your relationship. It was around one's relationship with food. I believe it delved into querying about your history, and very elaborate. I think it was like something like a 20 plus card spread. And I know that a lot of people were really moved by it and jumped in on it. And I was actually thinking of doing it at one point, but I was somewhat daunted, frankly, by the number of cards. And so I just didn't go there. So time went on, and I participated in December in the Sacred Wheel Instagram challenge. And one of the questions there was, what is sacred nourishment to you? Now, in between those two times, I had started to throw some cards and think about creating a spread around food and nourishment. Also because nourishment has been my life's work, if you will, not just with food, but how people are nourished in all areas of their life, through how they feel nourished through their physical bodies with movement, through their environment with the sounds, sights, and smells that are around them, and even to the psycho-emotional elements of their environment, with who is in their environment, within family, work, friendships, that kind of extension, those extensions, and certainly food, of course. So then that question came forward in the Sacred Wheel Instagram challenge, and I had been putting some cards together prior to that, and then the questions just from there crystallized to one degree or another, and so came forward the Sacred Nourishment spread. And I am offering this as a hashtag, and if any of you feel moved to do a video response to it, I would be honored. But for now, let's begin with the spread. And actually, before we begin with the spread, and I'll put all of this below in the comments, what I would invite you to do is gather some things around you. Take a few moments, perhaps read the questions first, and then take a few moments to gather a few things around you. They could be food items. I have here some beautiful citrus, winter citrus that's coming in now, some apples and a butternut squash, which are very representative of how I was nourishing myself all through the fall. I have some beautiful crystals around me. I have my sacred rattles with me. Sound is one way we nourish ourselves. And then, of course, I have a few other totems and things with me. So you might want to gather a few items around you to just set the table, if you will. Call the energy together around nourishment. And again, remembering that this isn't just about how you're working with yourself with food, but your relationship to your environment. The other thing that I wanted to say about it is that I really wanted to focus the questions on the present moment. So as much as you can, as the questions are landing on you and you're shuffling your cards, really bring yourself into the present moment. At the most recent months, so that a lot of times we get caught up in our history and our story and all of those things. Our history, especially, is important especially in our relationship with food. But sometimes in order to cut through the heavy stuff, if there is any heavy stuff, to gain clarity, sometimes we just have to be right where we are. So that would be my offering as you begin. And I have already drawn the cards because, as usual, I'm bringing this forward more for you guys to consider doing for yourselves. And me throwing the cards is really more of an example of how the spread might unfold. So the first question is, what is calling to be nourished or calling for nourishment in my life right now? And the card that came forward for me is the Hermit, or the Crone. I'm working with the Mother Peace deck. And each time that I've done this spread, I have chosen this deck because this just is a very nourishing and historical deck for me. And so this hits me right where I am, and this is about what's calling to be nourished for me right now is to remember that I am still in a time of deepening in, and it's deepening in around my creativity. It's taking this kind of time apart and knowing that some of the time that I'm having apart from things is for me to digest my thoughts, experiences, and creative impulses, to really kind of sit on the eggs or keep the seeds warm during this cold time of what is calling to come forward eventually, but maybe not right now, which is funny to say because I'm offering this spread, but there you have it. And what is interesting about this card is that the last time I did this spread for myself, this card ended up in the outcome position. So now that it's moved forward into the calling, really calling to be nourished right now, it's moved into that. So it was the outcome of the last energy movement, and now here it is in the first position. Yes, let's attend to it. The outcome has happened, and now it's time to attend to it. The next question is, how is my current environment nourishing me? And the card that came forward for me is the Priestess of Cups. And so for me right now, I am for the most part in a very emotionally nourishing environment. I am very fortunate on many levels. I'm really having my emotional and creative, my emotional space really held, so that there's been room for me to move through a lot of the emotional tides that I've needed to go through, both for my healing and to have the space to explore what might be being called to come forward creatively, or what isn't even yet, there. It hasn't even necessarily been germinated, but it might be waiting, like the soul being waiting to be called in. So right now I do have that space to have the muse kind of courted, if you will. So that is how my current environment is nourishing me at the moment. And then more directly, as we think of nourishment, what is my relationship to food in the present moment? And then what came forward for that was the Priestess of Discs. And this was, again, just a really beautiful card to come forward in this position, because this card to me speaks of the yoga of life, the way, as in the Tao. And I, at this moment, and now this is where it's like important about it being in the present am feeling very in harmony with my food, kind of connected to what I'm desiring. Now, if I was doing this reading even just a month ago, I was a little all over the place with not knowing what I wanted, and I couldn't identify what I wanted to eat, and nobody could do it right. That sounds horrible, but I am reliant on many people right now to get that nourishment, the food nourishment. But so right now that's shifted. So I want to be in the present moment with this experience, and so that is definitely the Priestess of Discs illustrating that in this moment. Then, what is shaping this pattern or relationship, or these relationships, is what I would invite you to consider. Your environmental relationship, your relationship with food. You can focus your energy as you're pulling the card on one or the other, or both of them. So what is shaping those relationships, or that relationship? And what came forward for me in this present moment is the Seven of Discs. And this is so beautiful because I actually threw these cards just about half an hour ago, and between then and now filming, I was waiting for a delivery. And one of the things that I've actually been able to do and been starting to trust is to use a service that brings food. It's from a store that I was familiar with shopping in, so I know the quality of their products. And several times things have been off with the orders, and this time too. So there's a patience that's needed, a breath that's needed. Actually, Rose from the Dance of the Soul Tarot, I think, describes this card as the breath between the contractions, and that's such a beautiful way of thinking of it, because when this happened, when the order came, I was like, and then no, breathe. So I've had to develop a lot of patience, and patience is actually not my strong suit in some areas. So when I have to be reliant on others, I'm patient with people if I'm working with people, but if I'm relying on something that's really important to me and I'm having to rely on other people, that trust is hard for me. That's something I'm still working on quite a bit. So this patience is what's kind of shaping this pattern, like this needing to learn this patience. And in a way, maybe things keep going wrong because it's asking me to kind of look at this pattern and take a breath instead of contract. So how would I like to shift or grow into or expand? And here I say, maybe choose one of those things. So for me, how would I like to shift maybe some of that contraction and know that everything is really going to be okay? And then what came forward with that was the Three of Cups. So in a way, for me to bring more joy and to know that there's joy around me in my environment, even if I have to be patient around my desires being fulfilled, if I have to wait a little bit for this or that, to really step back and to know that there's joy in all of this, and also that I know that I'm desiring to create more collaboration, shared experiences, and shared emotional experiences is often what the Three of Cups is. And for me, nourishment, whether it be with food or with, as my work, as I call it, working with people, or even these interactions through social media, these are all emotional experiences for me. And so to really wanting to bring more in these shared experiences, and to know that I'm not alone or isolated in my life right now, and that nourishment for me right now is in shared joy. Part of my nourishment right now is in shared joy. So what would be the way forward to toward that shared joy, creating that, expanding into that? And strength came forward. And so the strength card in this position to me is that it's about kind of a patience still, and to be strong and firm, and to have a stamina to know that that all of the tools necessary to create that collaboration, that joyful collaboration, are here, and that I, in a way, just have to be the patient mediator of things, and then maybe also to know when I don't need to mediate, and to just stand back and let myself be nourished, accept and receive the nourishment that's being offered to me. And so what obstacles or challenges might I face? And then the lovely Eight of Swords. Anything that I'm blocking myself, I think that I'm penned in, I think that I'm isolated, I think that there's no way over that brick wall except trying to get through it with a sword. It's going to be breaking over there, rather than hitting my head against it. To step back again, to breathe, and to know that that's those obstacles and that isolation is really more a construct of my mind than anything. And so then, what resources or skills do I have, or might I cultivate, in order to see my way through to the nourishment that I'm looking for, both with food, how I'm obtaining my food, and then so that I can have that creative space, relax into that creative space to be nourished, so I can get my nourishment creatively as well. What resources do I have to perhaps overcome those obstacles that I'm perceiving? And for some of us, those obstacles might be actual, real obstacles, so I'm not trying to diminish that. But for me right now, I know it's a mind experience. And so it's the Ten of Cups. So this card actually just came forward for me in an Instagram challenge, the Sacred Awakening 2018 challenge. And so this is receiving, knowing that I am good enough. Those are the words that are coming forward, to receive that fulfillment and these things, and to have my needs met, and to trust, and to emotionally trust that my needs will be met. They might not be met in the way that I'm thinking that they might get met, but they will be met. And there is an emotional, collaborative joy that is the outcome of this. So to know that I have the capacity to receive that joy, and then therefore to share joy and model joy for other people as well. And that's all part of the nourishment cycle. It's not just about what's coming to me or to you or to any one of us, but it's how it is cycling through this water flowing. This is water flowing and cycling and circulating. So that's how I take that card. And then so this path is followed, the outcome of this current moment and this current trajectory would be the Hanged One. And what did I write about this when this came forward? Again, in a way, the outcome is that a letting go and a letting loose of that my needs will get met along certain pathways, and to know and to trust and to let go and let loose, as I just said, that they will get met, just maybe not the way I think that they might. And that in the end, everything is going to be okay. And that is a snapshot of this moment for me. And I think in a way I wanted to create something that was of the present moment, because as I was saying in the beginning, we can get so caught up in the past or what's going to happen down the line, so far down the line, that it becomes difficult just to start. And at this moment, in January, everybody's thinking of resolutions and what they want to do and what they want to create and the 10 pounds they want to lose, or they want to go to the gym, and all of these really big ideas. And have you really sat with where you really are right now, where you really truly are, not where all the vibe out there and the hype and the media is suggesting that you might want to be or think you should be, but where you really are and what's really asking to be nourished. Is it losing the 5 or 10 pounds, or is it that you want to get to your easel and paint every day, or your sketch pad and draw every day, or is it that you want to write your novel in the next 6 months, or is it that really you want to figure out how to cook your own dinner 2 or 3 nights a week just for yourself or you and your family, and to take that nourishment? So it's not always what we think it is that's going to nourish us. And I'm hoping that if some of you will step on to this hashtag sacred nourishment, and do a video response, or even if you don't do a video response, if you write to me and say, hey, this is what came forward for me in this spread, I would again be so honored if you'd take that on and keep me posted. And until we meet again, thank you for walking with me here on this channel. And this is one of the avenues through which I am so nourished. So I feel very blessed, and blessings be to all of you, and be well.